Hello, whiskey folk. How are we all? Welcome to Thursday night. Welcome to another vPub, a virtual pub with your fellow barflies. Come in, pull up a seat in the lounge and say hello to your fellow barflies. Tell us where you're sitting tonight, who you're with, and what you're drinking. If you're sitting alone, drink with us and tell us that you're sitting alone by shouting barfly in the chat, and I'll try to give you a wee shout out. Welcome to everybody, and welcome, of course, if you're picking this up on the replay, as so many of you do, and I really appreciate it. Time zones, schedules, everything gets in the way, and it can be tough to be here at this time of night on a Thursday night, and I'm very grateful for those of you who pick it up on the replay. Leave a comment below and give us some feedback and let us know where you are and what you sipped along as you watched it. Yes, it is. Just let me check quickly. It says echoey. This is a disaster because I checked the sound, I checked it again, and I checked it a third time. This will be the third stream in a row where I've had audio problems. Surely not tonight. Should be good. Tell me what this sounds like. I checked, and I checked again, and I checked a third time. Sound is good, Thomas Elmer. Thank you very much. Yes. The last few streams I've started, and there seems to be something going on. I don't know if it's Google Hangouts. I don't know if it's my machine, my setup at my side, but it switches mic just before I go live or when I click live. But I checked tonight as I was going live that there was no switchover, and it should be absolutely fine. You should be hearing me fine. It is the last vPub before I take a wee summer break, take some time off during let's say, whiskey quiet season during the summer. I did the same last year. I'm not going to take as big a break as I did last year. I was away quite a bit. I was away for about 2 months last year. This year it's probably going to be closer to about 6 or 7 weeks, although I will be here for an August stream for patrons. But the vPub, the public vPubs, it's going to be the end of August. So I'm kind of looking forward to a wee break, but I always have that kind of strange feeling because I know I'm going to miss hanging out with you guys. Talking to you guys, let's see who's in this evening. Simon Ray is in. It's superb to see you. Good to see you, Simon. Kilted Moose, Steve A, Dwayne Large, fantastic. Dwayne, Greg from France, Michael Johnson. He's saying, sounds fine, Roy. I'm very glad, Michael, and good to have you in. Jeffrey Patron is in. Good to have you, Jeffrey. Espen is in. Espen K. Anderson. Mose is in. Fantastic to see you, my friend. Alistair Gray, Peter Eichen, Tabitha Adams. Good to see you again, Tabitha. Scotch on the Bayou. That's Leanne. Wonderful to have you, Leanne. Loch Ness is in. Tony Evans. Jez Batty. Fantastic to have you, Jez. Pete Head is saying sounds fine. Jay Chung. Flood is saying sound is good. Good. It's working for a change. Whiskey Geek, Aquaviti. Joe is watching with me tonight. Just got her out of the hospital. Nightmare week. Do you know, I picked up a couple of comments as it was scrolling past. I heard that you've had a difficult time. You're just about to have your first baby, Ben. I wish you both the very best of luck. It's always a nerve-wracking time, and I hope that everything's going to be fine for you both. Say hi to Joe, and hope you're looking after her. George O'Brien is here. Fantastic to see you, George. Bourbon Professor is here from the States. Great to have you, my friend. Gregor, also from the States, from Oregon. Good to have you in, Gregor. Christine Deems, US again. Jay Chung, Jimmy Legg, Craig Ritchie. Laura McGirt, Luna Aaron from Germany, Andy Siege from just down the road, just outside Glasgow. Andy, good to have you. Paul Gibbs, my friend from down in the Midlands. Mashburn, good to have you, Ross. Jay Chung, New Dram Drinker. Mike Marozzi. So many of you, 121 of you in, and things have just kicked off. I noticed how many of you were waiting for the doors to open tonight as well. It's wonderful. These weeks are going to be quite difficult. It's going to get to that point on a Thursday night where I pour a dram and think, yeah, I should be hanging out online. I should be hanging out with everyone online. But I think it's good. It's good to have some downtime to think about things. And last year when I came back, I did come back with a kind of renewed energy. I brought a few changes and things like that, and I think it was a wee bit better for it. Still, I enjoy these nights, and these 7 weeks might be a wee bit long. No Nonsense Whiskey, Vin is in. Wonderful to see you, Vin. Fantastic. So there's a loose theme tonight, and it's just a kind of, I wanted to keep this quite neat, short, We'll see how that goes. Because I'm leaving really early in the morning, taking a flight out with the family to some sunshine and charge up on our annual vitamin D. So I tried to I wasn't even going to have a theme tonight, but I think we have to have something to talk about, right? And I got to thinking about duty free and about what used to be called duty free, but it's just called travel retail, and the whiskies and spirits and drinks that are available there for us to take on holiday with us. Now, for years, I found it quite fertile hunting ground and always found something of interest in travel retail. But in recent years, I found it a bit dull, confusing, watered down, and not what it could be. And I worry a little bit, is that representative? Certainly when I talk about the Scotch section, is that representative of the Scotch whisky landscape? Because the core expressions that you can buy from specialist retailers and online and things, there's very little overlap with that landscape and what's in travel retail. And given the place that travel retail holds in introducing people to whiskey, I worry about that a wee bit. But I wanted to hear your opinions about travel retail, and I shared a link on Twitter earlier today and asked people to have a look at what's available at Glasgow's, where I'm departing from tomorrow morning, what's available at that airport, and have a look at the range and what would they buy. And the answers and feedback I got was remarkably aligned to me. So I think we tend to get quite good as a community at honing in on what is good, what is better quality, what is more engagement, what is better presentation, where the better whiskies are. Tony Evans is saying, how about summer drams? It's exactly what I'm going to talk about, Tony, as well. And talk about that, what happened to me last year, which I really enjoyed, and I'll talk about a wee bit later, where I stopped drinking beer and whiskey, and I switched to blended whiskey and a tall glass of ice filled up with soda, and I found it fantastic, very refreshing. Hi Laddie is in, good to see you on, but he's saying nothing interesting in travel retail, what I cannot get online. George Kaplan is saying, I'll be getting the Lagavulin 10 probably, if it was me, interested in how that one will be. I had that Lagavulin 10 in my hand just a couple of weeks ago when I came back up from London, and I paused and didn't buy it. In my other hand, I had another 10-year-old product that I nearly bought as well, but I was disciplined. I was on a self-imposed purchase ban. But always when I go on holiday, I try and pick up a travel companion, let's say. So we'll see. Those two 10-year-olds, George, could be in my sights tomorrow. I was just about to pick up a comment from Andrew there, from Prestige Liquids. He's saying Lafroy 4 Oak is not worth the exclusivity. Yeah, I've tried 4 Oak. Didn't make me want to buy it. Graham Murphy is saying, amen, struggle to understand travel retail now. This is my point. Now, bear in mind that it's not pointing at us, okay? Travel retail is for drive-bys, pass-throughs, introducing people. So it's very much a fishing exercise there. But we are a fairly knowledgeable crowd in this vPub, right? We kind of know our way around a whiskey aisle now. And if we walk in there and get confused, can you imagine what it's like for somebody who's maybe just wanting to step inside the whiskey bubble that's just outside of it? I think it's very confusing. And I think it's just the luck of the draw that you know, how informed the person guiding you around that section is, because there's obviously a lot of people on hand to take you around there. So this is not a comment on them, their knowledge, their skills. It's a comment on the range and the selection that's available. Gregor is saying your ABCD is a great guide for how to pick up something decent from travel retail. I was going to bring that up. If you're armed with the ABCD guide, that's age, bottling strength, chill filtration, is it chill filtered or not, and D for dye or colour. If you've got that mental list, you might not be able to tell if it's a good whiskey or not, whether you're going to love it or enjoy it, but what it will tell you is who is that whiskey pointed at. Is it mass market whiskey? Is it intended to be easy to drink and smooth? Or is it a nice, well-presented product from a confident producer pointing at us for engagement? NZ Anime Manga saying, well, busy tonight. I just tried the Kalila 22-year-old Fashil 2019 sample that you sent me. I'm so glad that you got it, Zach. Fantastic. It was great. Switching about for me, I still can't get my head around that Kalila, that 22-year-old. I don't know what it's trying to be. more often than not, it tastes a wee bit like an infinity, clearly to me. It's also a wee bit spicy. It's difficult to tame with water. Glad you enjoyed it though, and I have enjoyed a couple of drams with it, but I find it's one of those whiskies that perhaps depending on my mood, my condition, I might not be able to enjoy it very easily. It's not the most accessible Kalila, let's say. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but I still can't understand it, honestly speaking. Again, Brian is saying, it just picked up a Deanston 10 Bordeaux cask at Bristol Airport last week. Nothing else of interest. Kevin, tell me what you thought of it, because it's very much one I'd like to try and pick up. Mark is in Whiskey Whistle. He's saying, hi, cheers, Mark. Cheers right back at you. I think I'm going to hold up a Canadian whiskey and say cheers to Mark over at Whiskey Whistle. I'll finish this and tell you what it is. This was sent to me, or actually it was handed to me by my friend Graham Young when I met him in Glasgow recently, and he handed me a sample of a Wiser's 35-year-old 2017 edition, 50% ABV. I didn't do any research on this, but it tastes like rye to me. It certainly tastes like rye. Bobby Parnell has just dropped in a dram from across the pond. Bobby, just let me grab your comment quickly, my friend. It's been a while since I've seen you. It's so nice to welcome you in here. He's saying, hello, my friend. Sorry I haven't been around lately. Life has been busy. Bobby, this thing is here for you when you have time for it. It fits around your life. It's not the other way around, my friend. It's wonderful to welcome you when you're here. Enjoy your summer break. Thank you so much, Bobby. I'll raise a glass of, this is an American whiskey in this glass, and I'll tell you what this is in a second, and say, Slancha Bobby, thank you so much. As another one pops in from my friend down south, Vin, in No Nonsense Whiskey, saying, enjoy your summer break, Roy. Grab a dram on me, you star. I'm looking forward to doing something with you when we come back. Although we've got a problem, Vin. Hangouts on air is being killed off. More on that in a little bit. So yes, Graham gifted me this Wiser's. I think it tastes to me like a rye. It's very perfumed. It's very floral. There's some nice kind of sweet caramels and things, but it's an odd one. There was a really kind of dry green herbal note on arrival. It's quite a complex thing. A 35-year-old, I think it must be rye, the way it behaved on the palate, or there must be a lot of rye in here. Very interesting whiskey, lots of character, and but very, very perfumed. There's a candy, a sweet that we have in the UK called Parma Violets. And there was lots of that going on in this wee dram. But you can see I enjoyed it as I got things set up tonight, Graham, and thank you very, very much. And thanks to Vin and Bobby for their drams too. Cheers. This is very nice, very rich and delicious. This is also from Graham. This is a Stranahan's 4 barley, 2018 Colorado whiskey. I've got Stranahan's Diamond Peak downstairs, just a little bit of it left, and I absolutely love it. It's a fantastic American whiskey. Eric Waite saying, well, passing through travel retail, I compare prices with my iPhone, and a few travel retail specials are great buys. I have yet to ever buy a bottle at an airport. I buy quite a lot, Eric, or I used to, far less in the last couple of years. But it tends to be things that I trust or I'm intrigued by. Colourless Blue Things is in. Good to see you, my friend. He's saying, evening, Roy. Glad to be joining live again. It's very good to have you back, my friend. Good to have you in. Neil Cochrane is in saying, Ralphie, travel retail, an Orwellian nightmare. Yeah, listen, we're all feeling the same thing. You know, it's something kind of is a bit amiss there. Something's a wee bit confusing, right? And Ben, my friend Ben Dietrich, thank you very much, my friend. I'll raise this glass of Stranahan's and say Slancha. He's saying, enjoy your well-deserved break, Roy. Thank you very, very much. Cheers, Ben. Wonderful, wonderful crowd of folk. Yes, I noticed also, I've been looking for him recently, but Fred Hansen was in. Fred, thank you very, very much for your comments that I received from you after the last vPub live stream. They are taken on board and they are very much noted. I sat with my patrons a week ago on a patron-only stream last Thursday night. I discussed it openly with them. And while it's very tempting for me to come back and argue a wee bit with you, I'm not going to do that. Instead, I'm going to take your points on board and understand that what I'm potentially entertaining when I share whiskies that have been sent to me unsolicited on the live stream, is I'm entertaining ambiguity. And I don't want that on this channel. This is a channel funded by the community, and I want to keep it that way. So thank you very, very much. Just had another dram, Graham Ustar, he sent me across a dram in Canadian dollars. Are you home yet, Graham? Or are you still in the UK? Graham met up with me. We managed to get some dinner together. We managed to have a couple of drams together. We watched the premiere of the Scotch Taste Dummies video together in the Bon Accord. And then he went off touring. And as he was down in Campbelltown, he turned up for a tour, I think of Springbank. And it was only him and one other person on the tour. And the other person on the tour was Ralphie. How cool was that? Very, very cool. Thank you, Graham. Thanks very much for these wonderful samples and for your time. And also you left me some very, very special gifts that I want to share tonight with everyone. Because if this channel is funded by the community, I have been gifted so many wonderful, wonderful whiskies over the last year from people in this community. And I don't bat an eyelid about sharing those wonderful gifts. And most of the time, it's whiskies from where people are coming from, which is really cool as well. Chat is moving very fast tonight. Every time I touch it, flips. Bobby Purnell is saying my local mum and pop store picks up travel retail bottles and then sells them to a select few of us off the books. Dreaded the day TABC pops them for that. Is that a tobacco alcohol something? Is that a US body? I guess TABC. Yeah, I'd be interested in what ones they pick up. I suppose some of them are in demand. Recently, there was a lot of single casks going about. There's some Glen Scotia, some Highland Park single casks available just through travel retail. And I noticed while they were a wee bit pricey, they weren't abusively expensive, which was a wee bit encouraging. But I wonder if it's always like that. Chris Beaton is saying, hi, folks. Good to have you in again, Chris. I've just had a Per Ustar. I had a notification from you through Patreon before we went live as well, Per. Thank you so much for your support, your continued support. You're a star. And thank you very much for your nice little emoji and your dram as well, my friend. Cheers, Per. These are all summer drams being shared. It's wonderful. Christina Zarpoli is in saying 150 people want to get their vPub on before you close the door for summer. Yes. Yes, it is. It's amazing. And what I noticed here, that, I mean, half of you were already in here chatting to each other before I went live tonight as well. So this chat is running, and you don't see it on the replay, of course, but it's running in live in advance of the vPub starting up. So if you want to just hang out a wee bit earlier and chat to the other barflies, by all means, you can do that. Luna Aaron has just sent across a dram as well, saying, so Roy, you're interested in samples of German and Swiss whiskey. Enjoy your well-deserved holiday. Thank you so much, Luna. Thank you. Cheers. Making me drink fast tonight. Stranahan's is delicious, though. Yes. So I came back from London and I went through travel retail. And usually I just do a drive-by now because I kind of coast past just looking to see if there's anything of interest. But when there is something of interest, it's not obvious. It's not on a big display. It's probably just a single facing or two facings wide or something, and you spot it and think, you know, Balblair's, vintage Balblair's are still there. Loch Lomond are still there with good presentation, different from their core range, but similarly packaged, and it's clear what the addition actually is. Glen Scotia's, obviously from Loch Lomond Group as well, the same. Diageo do a decent job in travel retail because Lagavulin 16 is always there, and if it's always kept that age statement on it, it's always at a reasonable price. So if you enjoy your Lagavulin 16, you can pick it up there. Jeffrey Petronas sent across a dram as well, saying summer dramming happened so fast. Greece intensified. Summer dramming. Very good, Jeffrey. Thank you very much, my friend Slancher. Those summer nights. Diageo I mean, there's a lot of non-age statement Diageos there, and some of them, I guess, would be hit and miss. But there's some of that, like Oban, you'll pick up Oban 14 there and things, Clynelish 14. Good, steady products that we all enjoy that you can pick up at reasonable money. Alistair Gray's also brought a dram saying, get the Lager 10 Deanston 10 Bordeaux, both lovely. Wow, Alistair. I trust your opinion. Listen, the Deanston is a no-brainer, honestly, because if you remember about 18 months ago, Deanston brought out a 2008, which is the same age as a 10-year-old Bordeaux cask, and they brought out a cask strength about 50, 55 pounds. Wonderful value, wonderful whiskey. Needed a bit of water to tame it, to bring it down to its best, but at cask strength, it gave you the flexibility to do that. It was fantastic. I raved about it at the time. I raved about the value, as did friends of mine such as Jason Whiskey Wise, who put me onto that expression. Great whiskey. So to see the Bordeaux, now that one's presented at 10 years now, a 2008, 10-year-old, makes sense. 46.3%, as all Deanstons are, and £50. Wee bit cheeky, but we've got to remember the 10-year-old cask strength one was, well, it was maybe only 9 years old, actually, when it was released, to be honest, 2008 vintage. But that was a couple of years ago. And now the prices have crept up a wee bit. So we're now paying the same for a 46.3% version, but that is still good value to my mind. A good quality, well presented Deanston product, 10 years old for £50. The Lagavulin 10 as well was not abusively expensive. And again, notice how they're presenting the recent Lagavulins, the 8-year-old, the 9-year-old Game of Thrones. They're not putting it out at 40, 43%. They're putting it out at 46, 48%, which we've got to welcome. We've got to applaud that and support producers, even if it is the big boys like Diageo, the so-called blending companies. We've got to support them when they're doing that and talk about when they do things well. Marcus Kreitner saying Aquaviti, my travel companion on my vacation last week, was an official Bruichladdich tasting set. Good for you, Marcus, with 2 Bruichladdich and 1 Port Charlotte, all in 200ml bottles. I'm going to share with you now, Marcus, and everybody, the last 2 things I bought at travel retail, and you can tell by the fill level in them that I have quite enjoyed them. Last year, this was not this year, I bought this last year, and I think it was some time ago. I've had this for a wee while. I have to be honest about this whiskey. I don't always love it. This is Bruichladdich. This is Port Charlotte 2007 CC01. Being Port Charlotte, of course, it's heavily peated, but I love this. It's cask strength, okay, so it's 57.8%, but it clearly says on the bottle here, on the bottle, it's colouring free and unchill filtered. So yes, we want to applaud that. Now, this was a bit of a switched whiskey for me. One time I would pour it and enjoy it, really enjoy it. And other times, depending on what I was sipping in contrast with, it would sit a wee bit odd. And I'm not sure if it's the cognac cask, probably is, but on balance, I've quite enjoyed this. It's going to appear in a recycled review soon, I guess, so you'll work out then, and I'll have made up my mind by then whether I would replace it or not. There's still a few more drams left in here to share, and I may even pour one of these tonight and see how it's coming across this evening. And another one that I bought was a Glen Scotia. Now, this isn't part of their core range. This is a litre of their 16-year-old. And this, I don't remember what I paid for either of these, but they weren't expensive, you know, maybe 60, 65 pounds, I think, of that order for both of them. This has been fantastic. This is very savoury, very meaty, very Campbelltown in style. If you like the Campbelltown style, if you like that kind of, I know that a lot of people refer to it as funk, but if you like those kind of different characterful notes in your whiskey, you're going to enjoy this Glen Scotia 16, quite a rich whiskey as well, presented fantastically well at 46%. It does say on it somewhere that it's unchill filtered, yet on the back, but doesn't mention anything about colour. But it's nice to see an age statement whiskey there. It's nice to see a product like this in a litre bottle as well. It stretches that wee bit further. This was a good buy. And I would be happy to have, right now, I would be happy to have any Glen Scotia product in the cupboard. And there is a travel retail exclusive called the 1832 or something. That was quite interested in a non-age statement there, but that's one that I would probably ask to try at the airport first to see what I could determine from sipping out of a wee plastic cup before I bought it. Neil Cochrane is saying, Deanston. Are we getting it now about Deanston? I get flack regularly for being a Deanston fanboy, and I don't care. I'll remain a Deanston fanboy right up until they stop doing what they're doing. But but they're doing very good things. And any producer that's doing good things deserves to be talked about and applauded for doing good things. Positive reinforcement, right? Thomas Elmer is saying, I wonder if anyone has done a Lagavulin head-to-head 8, 9, 10, 12, 16-year-old. Sounds like a science. Yes. I've not tried the 10. I'm familiar with the rest of them now. I think I know where they fit in the landscape. 8 is for the peat heads. That higher ABV, the young, bold ex-bourbon cask. 9 is a wee bit softened and a wee bit sweetened, a bit more accessible. 12 is for, the die-hard peat heads that want the high ABV and the grip and the power as well. They want that Lagavulin experience. 16-year-old is just a wonderful ambassador, I think, for Scotch whisky. Yes, we would love it to be unchill filtered. We would love it not to be coloured, and we would probably love it a few dots higher ABV as well. Nevertheless, the world is not filled with whisky anoraks, and I'm glad it isn't, because there wouldn't be enough whisky to go around. So the Lagavulin 16 does a fantastic job. Just last week, I had a visitor in this house, an au pair that used to work for us a while back, brought her boyfriend round. She's living in Glasgow. She brought her boyfriend round and introduced him to us and things. It was a really nice night. We had some dinner. Afterwards, he was interested in whiskey. We sipped a few whiskies, and I took him through some fine whiskies, Glendronachs, 15 and 18. I let him sip a couple of the lighter, 43% Flora and Faunas, to give him an idea of cask styles and things. The one that switched the lights on for him, Lagavulin 16. It's a very, very powerful tool for that thing. Skogsmard is asking, why is travel retail sometimes 1 litre bottles while normally retail is typically 700ml? Truthfully, I don't know. I've always put it down as a value thing, but I'm sure there's probably a reason for it. Eric Waite is saying, I picked up a distillery exclusive from Glen Scotia. Odd distillery. They store the casks vertically and put a bunghole on the head. That's true. And when Ralphie was actually, he put a picture on Instagram and he was stood next to vertically positioned barrels. And I just thought, he's down at Glen Scotia. But he was actually back in Glasgow for his Instagram pictures. Skippy Van Pob is saying, I love the recycled review, Roy. Looking forward to part 2 of the dummies too. Yes, I'm hoping that I will get wee pockets of time. I've kind of just started to tentatively edit the second edition of the dummies video. I was going to try and shoot a recycled review, but there's a few bottles that I want to include in it. It's probably just, they're a wee bit heavy yet. So we're maybe a month or so away from a recycled review. But I'm going to try and get little pockets of downtime when the kids are sleeping on holiday and things. And if I'm feeling awake and inspired, I'll maybe get a wee bit of editing done. Neil Cochrane is saying Glen Scotia. Mark Harris saying the litre bottles allow maximising travel allowances. Of course, because you're limited. So if they can round it out to litres. Makes sense, Mark. Chris Banks, Wildlife. Good to see you in, Chris. Had a wee flick through your book. Chris gifted me this in the Glasgow Gathering. This is a Walk the Isles with photographer Chris Banks. So this is literally landscape and wildlife photos. Some of them really quite dramatic, taken by one of our very own, Chris Banks Wildlife. Fantastic. Enjoyed that. Very nice gift to have from you as well, Chris. Thank you for that. I was hoping that I would see you in tonight. New Dram Drinker, thank you so much, my friend. Dave, he's not called Dave. Hi, Roy, could you recommend a Deanston for New Dram Drinker with a sweet tooth? Well, I have to say, honestly, the sweetest Deanston is obviously also the cheapest one. It's the Virgin Oak. It's 46.3% non-age statement. It's very, obviously with it being Virgin Oak there's a lot of oak influence in there, and it is quite sweet. If you enjoy a kind of more bourbon sweet spirit, then you're going to enjoy the Virgin Oak. And it does very well with a wee splash of water. Don't be afraid to throw water at it and play with it a bit. 46.3% gives us that wee bit extra flexibility to do that as well. Other Deanstons, the 18 is also quite sweet, and that the 18-year-old has a finish in first fill bourbon. I mean, while Deanston generally across the board is not considered a particularly sweet whiskey, it's sweet enough. I don't want it getting any sweeter. It's perfect just the way it is. Amy is in. Superb to see you, Amy. She's saying hello to all her friends. Wonderful to have you in. Again, I hope you're doing well, and I hope George is doing well too. So there were a couple on that link that I put out of whiskies that I think I might hold in my hands tomorrow, ask if I can try on the way out, and consider taking along as a travel companion. But I want to throw something out there. I'm going to Spain. Earlier this week, Tom from Spiritworks, Tom down in Lichfield, sent me a rum, and it was a Foursquare rum, Patrimonio, I think it was called, a special edition one. It's delicious, so delicious, very sweet. Not as sessionable, I think, as malt whiskey to me, to my palate, but it was gorgeous and very enjoyable. And I gave a little bit of it to my wife, and she loved it too, and it was 58% ABV rum. So I wonder if there's any rum at the airport. That would be interesting. But it might be that when I'm in Spain, there's some nice rum available there. But there's all that wonderful sherry that they make out there in Spain. There's brandy, and there's various spirits that the Spanish probably make. Why wouldn't I take some advice from you perhaps on sipping something other than malt whiskey over the summer? What do you think about that? Greg at Greg's Whiskey Guide is telling me that New Jam Drinker is indeed Dave and Nikki. Thanks, Greg. I'm only kidding, Tony. Have a great summer, Roy. It's Bourbon Night is in. Fantastic. Is that Chad, Sarah, or both of you in? Wonderful to have you. Saying it's have a great summer, Roy. Can't wait to read your What I Did on Summer Vacation essay. That's right. Well, it's going to be a monologue. It's going to be on a vPub, and it's probably going to be sometime at the end of August. Thanks so much for dropping in, guys. Good to have you in here. I hope you'll stay a wee while. Luna Aaron is saying you should empty some sherry casks. Exactly. I think we should all do our bit to empty some sherry casks, especially if we're vocal about how much we love sherry cask whiskies. Radek is in. You star, Radek. Good to see you. Thank you so much for the nice comments as well, recently as well. Try some Dos Madeiras rum. 5+5 or Luxus. I've been getting quite a few rum recommendations, actually. And it turns out Tom down in Lichfield is quite a rum fan. But it sounds like if I stick to Foursquare, anything from Foursquare seems to be a good place to start. So I'll look out for that as well. Dos Madeiras. Multi-Agus Wancher Matthews and saying plenty sangria. Yeah, sangria's never been a favourite of mine. I can have a wee glass of it and that's about it. But I suppose on how it's made, right, there can be good and bad sangria. Luna Aaron is saying they might have some rum from Madeira, really nice and quite a natural presentation. Yeah, I hear that there are some rum, this is from Tom, some rum locations where they don't permit colouring if it's bottled within their own borders, and they don't permit sugar being added as well. Peter Wilcox is saying, hi Roy, Spanish brandy is beautiful. Have a good hauls and safe journey. Cheers, Pete. Thank you very much, Peter. Good to have you in. Spanish brandy, you're not the first to have recommended Spanish brandy to me and to tell me that it's something worth spending a bit of time with. And Dave is saying, thanks for the recommendations. You're welcome, buddy. Per Christensen is saying, you must try PX Cruth Conde Sherry. Wow. So again, a sherry recommendation. And what's interesting is down at Easter, we were staying in a hotel with the kids. And at night, they would bring in 2 little glasses and a small decanter of sherry, like a bedtime drink, I guess they were doing. It was just a nice little touch that they did. And my wife loved that as well. And it was PX. Well, I think it was PX. I'm not sure, but it was very rich and very sweet and dark. So maybe what the kind of flavour profile I would associate with PX. I did ask someone, I said, is this PX sherry? And a woman just looked at me and she said, right, it's just sherry. Eric Waite is saying, in Spain, I drink cava, sparkling wine, or see if I could find some nice Rioja or Ribera del Duero, Tempranillo-based wines. We do have wine, we're in Spain, but pretty much exclusively with food, Eric. But yeah, it's the place to do it. Some of the best wines I've tried in Spain were little hand labels that you buy in petrol stations and kind of bizarre places in these wee villages all over the place for €2 and €3 a bottle. Colours Blue thinks is saying, where is your holiday to, Roy? We're going to Murcia, down in the southeast of Spain. Prestige Liquids is saying, Dave loves sweet whiskies. Is there anything else you can recommend? Sweet whiskey, if you do love sweet whiskies, seek out either of the Nika coffee editions, the coffee malt or the coffee grain. The coffee malt is so sweet, it's arguably closer to a rum in styling, but it's very, very chocolatey, very sweet, very, very rich. And for Japanese whiskies, those are still quite available and not too expensive as well. I would recommend £50 or less you should spend on those two. Etty is in the malt cask saying, evening, Roy, evening, everybody. Bought a bottle of La Hechicera rum, which is very tasty chocolate, leather, and tobacco. That's what I'm picking up from these rum discussions, is that they tend to be very rich. Like I say, maybe not a session thing. It's not like you could sit there and have a flight of 5 of them as easy as you might have a flight of 5 single malts. That's just my palate, but yeah. Tom is in, he's saying, hi, for the first time I'm joining you from the bar whilst waiting for my last pair of customers to drink up. I reckon some Deanston has my name on it when I get home. Tom, you'll need to scroll back and listen to about 10 or 15 minutes ago. I've been talking about you and talking about the rum subject as well. Thank you so much for sending me your Foursquare rum samples over recent weeks. The Patrimonio that I had the night before last, was it? I absolutely devoured and loved. My wife liked it too. Jay Chung is saying, any golf on your holiday? My wife and I managed to play a wee game of golf last year, Jay, and she's a better golfer than me, so it's hard for me to play golf. But yeah, we enjoyed it. We really loved it. And we might rent a couple of electric buggies and get the kids in the buggies and maybe have a wee game of golf. We might squeeze in some time for that as well. Andrew is saying, Dave says thanks. I'm just poking a bit of fun at him. Sorry, Anthony. NZ Enemy Manga saying, favourite Fishio bottling Aquavite? Well, to be honest with you, the only one I've actually tried so far is the Kalila. I can't comment any further. There's a chap at the Whisky Club who's got a hold of a Kilchoman for me, and I think he's going to sell it to me at retail, so I'll get my hands on that. I've got a couple of samples of the Bunnahabhain Fishio releases, a Sauterne and something else. Can't remember what the other one was. Was it French? Another French wine cask. Can't remember. But I've not opened them and tried them yet. Kevin Bryant is saying, Aquavite, tried the Tullybarton 225 Sauterne. I'm interested in the 500 sherry cask. Or anyone tried it? Any thoughts? The cheaper Tullybardens, to my palate, are still not there yet. But I have to be careful because there are people at the Whisky Club and there are people that I know that are huge Tullybarden fans and really got on well with them and won't have a bad word said about them. But I still need to connect a bit more with Tullybarden, Kevin. I just haven't found anything that's really dragged me in yet, but never say never. For me, it would probably be a try before you buy as well, or go on a recommendation of somebody that I trusted. Okay, well, there's quite a few of you in. I'm going to share something with you that I think is quite fun, and I've already shared this on Patreon. I've shared it on YouTube. You've probably seen it in things. But I was working on a T-shirt design. I got asked quite a lot for T-shirts. The last T-shirt sold out, obviously, and I've been asked a lot since. But I didn't want to just churn out the same design again, and I wanted to do something that was a wee bit more subtle and one pointed towards the community and one pointed towards what this channel's known for as well. So I'm going to try to do a wee bit of a screen share for you here and see if I can get a reaction back from you guys, from those who haven't seen this yet. I don't know if I can zoom in here at all to let you see the design a wee bit better. Yeah, it looks like I can. So what we have here is a T-shirt that has a very clear image on it. And, you know, I don't think it needs any words or anything. I don't think I'm going to bother adding any additional logos or anything to that. It's very much something that screams about the recycled reviews. And the idea here is that, you know, it's not really to advertise Aquavite. It's not really to advertise anything. It's more a community T-shirt. So if you're wearing it, somebody that knows that review will see that and know what it's about. They'll understand it immediately. And I guess that'll start up a conversation for people who don't know what it's about and they ask about it. The only nod to Aquavite will be here on the side, on the sleeve, that there's a little Aquavite roundel embellishment, and the jury's out whether or not to put anything on the nape of the neck of the T-shirt, the same as I did last time. So there you go. I just wanted to get some feedback on that, whether you think it's a nice design, whether it's something people would wear. I think I'm going to go with it anyway, because I've had some positive feedback. Spiritworks Thomas saying perfect design as Jimmy Jazz is saying XL, please. And Christian Dugstad is saying, class. Fantastic. Please add your signature there. Radek is saying, I would pre-order now. Okay, that's fantastic. And like I say, it's very focused, it's very pointed to the community, because it's not meant to shout about Aquavitae on YouTube, whatever. It's just, I guess, if you know, as Vin from No Nonsense Whiskey said, if you know, you know. If you know what that's about, you're going to recognize it. You're going to understand why it exists. So when I come back from Spain, during my first few days holiday, I'm going to finalize the numbers. There's a form. I should have put the link in the description below. I didn't do that. There's too many things to remember. But you can fill out a form and tell me what size you want and things like that. No money or anything. Just go in and fill out the form, and then I'll know how many to order. Now, if I'm able to get a hold of that now, I will attempt to drop that in the description of the video while we speak. And then you can go in and fill out the form, and I know how many XLs and how many smalls and things. I'm not going to order women's t-shirts this batch, but I will order some small ones. The reason is that the old design, I still have women's t-shirts left. I have quite a lot. I did sell quite a few women's t-shirts, and I'm very grateful that I did, but I over-ordered. So I think this time I'm just going to go for a range of sizes. It's all going to be one color, I think, at this point in time. And I'll just get a link, copy that, and then attempt to drop it in the description of this video. So there we have it. Aquavitae t-shirts will be back again after summer. But yes, please, nobody send any money. I'll let everybody know when they're available, when they become available. This is running a wee bit slow, but once I get this link pasted in, I'm back with you again. As I do this, I have some worrying news for me, and that is that that's that done. Google Hangouts is being killed on the 31st of August, I think, end of August. Either end of July, end of August. I think it's the 31st of August. But what that means is that what I use to go live with you now is Hangouts on Air. And that's what's being killed by YouTube. So I need to find another way to go live. Now, I can go live using some of the other tools that they have. They have a desktop version of what YouTube uses on a smartphone called Webcam. You know, you can schedule it. It still has live chat, still has everything that we use. But it would kind of kill the way I do the quiz right now. And it would kill the ability to have guests. It's a wee bit of a disaster. And the reason is that, you know, Hangouts is a really cool, powerful tool in itself. But it blows my mind that they put it inside YouTube so that you could just have this multi-person conference call embedded inside YouTube and simultaneously broadcast that live and have the ability to watch it on repeat and have live chat as well. Wonderfully powerful, a fantastic tool. And they're switching over to a much more user-friendly, easy-to-use version of that. But there will be no ability to add guests and no ability to add other feeds. So the additional camera angles that I was using in the past, I was using through multiple feeds. So I guess what I also have to do over summer as well is find a replacement for that and maybe just bite the bullet and get a bit more comfortable with broadcasting software like OBS or something like that. Prestige Liquid is saying Skype works well with OBS. I hate using Skype. I work on a Mac as well, so Skype is clunky. Every time you open it up, it wants an update and things. I would rather find tools that works through a browser if possible. But yes, it's because I have much more flexibility working through OBS. but it adds layers of complexity and things that I could really do without. The easier this is just to share whiskey with you and not think too much about the technology, but engage more in the community is what I'm about. Tabitha is saying, have you thought about doing something on Twitch? My community lives very much in YouTube, and the demographic is less Twitch-like. Never say never, Tabitha. I've just never thought about it, and I've never done any work. I've never even looked at Twitch. It's probably me and my age, I would say. So there you go. New Jam Drinker is saying, yeah, OBS. I know the Scotch 4 Dummies have used OBS for a long time now. Scotch Test Dummies played with it for a while and probably will use it for certain things. It's an option, but it's a bit of a pain. It's a bit of a shame that YouTube would want to kind of make it easier to use, a better UI and things, but at the same time ditch one of the most powerful tools that it has inside its platform. Greg is saying, is it 100% sure we won't be able to use it anymore? Do you know if YouTube will propose something else in exchange? Yes, they've got other live streaming tools, Greg, but it's not Hangouts on air inside YouTube. It's just much more easy, much fewer clicks and button presses, easier to go live, much more straightforward tools that they're replacing it with less features. And one of the features that we lose out on is guests. Okay, let's pour a wee dram, since I've got an empty glass here. I'm going to go for a wee dram of this travel retail exclusive. I believe it's travel retail exclusive, the Glen Scotia 16. 46% Campbelltown. A litre bottle, I think it was about £60. You can't go wrong, come on. See if it behaves the way I remember it. This bottle has been quite low for a number of months now, so it might have mellowed out. Campbelltown. Maybe not as powerful, maybe not as funky as Springbank, but it's clearly there. The coastal thing is there as well. Wonderful stuff. Rich and inviting, treacle. Savoury notes, kind of salt and brine, sure, but sweet and rich and inviting. Cheers. Just a good whiskey. Just a good, honest, characterful, old school style whiskey. Not the type of whiskey that you would be in a hurry to recommend to somebody that's new to whiskey, because there are notes and flavours in there that could be a wee bit challenging to somebody that's looking for sweet or smooth or something. But once you get a taste for the style of whiskey, you just love it. You just love it. Brandon Lee's saying, how is it compared to the 15? Well, interestingly, Brandon, the 15 for me is very savoury. In fact, we had it in a lineup. It was Ebon hosted a lineup of Glen Scotias one night, and the 15 was very much in there. And then the contrast of the lineup, somebody at the Whiskey Club at the tasting I was at mentioned smoked salmon. And now every time I have a Glen Scotia 15, I can pick up that smoked salmon note. So you've got that kind of smoked meat, that smoked savoury element to it. Very rich, very characterful, very, I would have to say, and I use the word with a small d, but a dirty whiskey. This kind of old school dirty whiskey style. That's what the 15 is like. This is less like that. This is a wee bit more approachable, a wee bit more easy drinking, I would say. But not drinking them in contrast. I'm obviously sipping this in isolation. There is a wee bit savoury, but this is more like a just indulge me, like a tinned meat type smell, but very, very mild. Yeah. Paul Gibbs is asking, good to see you. And Paul, he's asking me if I've tried the rum cask finish. I haven't, not yet. Heard a lot of good things about it. Brandon Lee's saying, I'm a huge fan of the 15 as well. Listen, Glen Scotia, they're just doing great things. They're presenting their whiskies really well. Just great stuff. KB is in. Good to see you, KB. He's saying, Roy, see you soon in Glasgow. I'm looking forward to it, my friend. I hope your tour and things get sorted out. I hope you're doing well, and looking forward to grabbing a handshake and a dram at the very least, maybe even a bite to eat, KB. So make sure you stay in touch. Just quickly, with all the fun I've had meeting people as they come in and out of Glasgow and things, it's been fantastic fun. It really has been. But the reason that I'm difficult to commit is that if it's like a week before, it's easy for me to say yes or no, I can make it or not. But if it's a month away, I really don't know how it's going to conflict with family and things like that. So I tend to ask people to wait and kind of message me much nearer the time and let me know where their movements are and what flexibility they've got in terms of meeting up. And I do try and meet up, especially when it's patrons. I try my absolute hardest to meet up with the guys that are supporting me and just to thank them personally. But it's been wonderful to meet up with so many of you over the last year, and I want to continue that. I don't want there to be isolation, but it is difficult. It's very difficult, especially in summertime when there's so many of you coming in and out of Scotland. Difficult, but wonderful. Alan Whiskey Friend, Mark Slinger is saying, got me to try Glen Scotia. Now I love it. Good for you, Alan, and good for you, Mark, as well. Talking of people coming in and out, I'm going to share some of the wee gifts I was given. First up, Jonathan, long-term patron supporter Jonathan Flowers, and his wife Zan, and I say wife because they were here to get married, or they were over from Alabama to get married in Scotland. Just blows my mind. We managed to meet up quickly and share a couple of drams and get a bite to eat together in Glasgow a week or so ago. And small world that whiskey is, Eric Waite, who I also managed to meet up with last weekend as well. We visited Annandale Distillery together. A great day with Eric, and we were out in the Bon Accord that evening. He went off and did some touring, and he bumped into Jonathan and Zan down in Campbelltown as well. They didn't know each other, just their common accents. They asked each other where they were from, and it turned out that they had both hung out with me just a few days before. But look at these really cool gifts from Jonathan and Zan. I believe Alabama to be once a state that was completely dry and no distilling or no production of whiskey or anything. The way I understand it, I didn't do any research and I apologise, but I believe that's the case. However, this is a bottle gifted to me by those guys from Jonathan and Zan of John Emerald, John's Alabama single malt whiskey. And this is malt whiskey distilled from pecan and peachwood smoked malted barley. Fantastic. John's Emerald, or John Emerald, John's Alabama single malt whiskey. Wonderful stuff. Never even heard of it, nor have I heard of this. Now, this is a special cast strength single barrel bourbon. This is from Detling. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Detling, Alabama bourbon. And it says field to bottle bourbon made in small batches using exceptional ingredients. Cast strength bourbon whiskey, 53.9% alcohol, and only 35 months old. Wonderful, wonderful stuff. I wonder if there's any intelligence out there on these bottles. But wonderful gifts to get from the community. So when I talk about being community funded, I very, very much am. And from a friend who gave me the samples that I started off sipping tonight, the Stranahans and the Wisers 35, I also get these really cool gifts as well. It's kind of a Crown Royal bag, but it's not Crown Royal. This is a Gagetown straight rye, pure New Brunswick straight rye grain spirit. Clear as water. But what they have here is this little chunk of applewood. And what Graham and I have agreed, he's got a bottle of this as well, and he's not dropped his applewood chunk in either, is that the two of us are going to schedule on a live when he's in the audience watching or whatever, at the same time as that I'm doing this live, I'm going to drop my little chunk of applewood in there as well. And I'm just going to leave it maturing over my shoulder here behind us. I'm not going to do it now because I'm away for 3 weeks or so. And I think I'll do it when I come back from summer, and just watch how it changes colour. And we'll kind of sip it together and decide when it's reached its peak, and then kind of remove it at that time. So just a cool little fun thing to do. And he also gave me this. You're not going to believe this. Whiskey Throttle Daniel was over last year. He brought across a Lot 40 Canadian rye cask strength, a 12-year-old. And then Graham Young and his family turn up with this. Fantastic. This is the Lot 40 cask strength, but this is the 11-year-old. Unobtainium in the UK. And Graham turned up and gifted me this while we were sitting having a meal last week. Wonderful, wonderful generosity. Thank you so much. Graham is in here. He's saying, Aquaviti, I hope the stuff is okay. Come on. It's going to be better than okay for sure. And if it's not okay, it's still fun. And that Lot 40, I'm pretty convinced. I loved that previous bottle of Lot 40, and I shared the hell out of that. That went to so many people. And I hope everybody that got a wee sample of that enjoyed it as much as I did. I thought it was wonderful. So thank you to Graham and family, to Claudette and to Caitlin and Annie, I think. And I also got to meet Pat as well. And also thank you to Jonathan and Zan. And I hope you're all still having a fantastic time. I'm not sure if you're back home or still in Scotland, but thank you to all of you. Where are we at? We're coming up on 55 minutes so far. I have to say the Glen Scotia is pretty tasty. Sip by sip, it's getting better. There's a bitterness to it, but it's not an acrid bitterness. It's not an uncomfortable, oaky bitterness. It's a nice, it kind of fits with the rest of the dram. Jason Whiskey Wise is in. Good to see you in, Jason. I can see that he's been working very, very hard. I worry for that man's health sometimes, Jason. Wonderful. Okay, I've got a wee list of here of things I want to just make sure that I'm keeping up with everything. I think I'm doing okay. Yeah, I'm doing okay. I'm being quite productive tonight. So what do we think of our travel retail? It looks like I'm getting a lot of recommendations to either go outside whiskey, or if I stick with whiskey, consider the Glen Scotia, consider the Lagavulin 10 or the Deanston 10, all of which are actually in my shortlist, I have to say. There are also a couple of nice Balblair vintages still available. The 90, I think the 99, maybe the 99's in Edinburgh, and the 04. So there's still a couple out there. But I'm a wee bit bemused by the ranges. If you look at Macallan, even Glengoyne recently, they've released some bizarre ranges that it's really difficult for me to position them in the Glengoyne lineup where they fit. Another Ian McLeod product, Tamdhu, they've got Ambar and some Grand Reserva. Ambar's a bit cheaper. The Grand Reserva is about £150. There's some ludicrous offerings from Craigellachie. They want £250 for a 17-year-old. Sorry, a 17-year-old Craigellachie for £250. What's worse, their 33-year-old is £2,000. It's Craigellachie. Craigellachie is wonderful whiskey, but it's not £2,000 for a 33-year-old wonderful, and it's not £250 for 17-year-old wonderful. Matt 69, good to see you. Saying Longmorn 16, not as good as it was apparently, but very cheap in airports. What's curious is the link, I think the link that I sent through had Longmorn 16, the old green packaging in the photo. But I guarantee you when I go to Glasgow Airport tomorrow morning, it will not be that packaging, it will be the newer purple packaging. Longmorn 16 is still a very, very good dram. It's not the same as it was, the previous packaging. It's the profile's changed a bit, but it's still a very, very good dram. But it's a bit more expensive as well than it used to be. Whiskey Radar is saying the Craigellachie 17 he got for €52. Yeah, it's just crazy now. Skogsmard is saying, how many times can a cask be reused? Where do ex-bourbon or sherry barrels go after they are too tired? The Scottish distillery has reused them 7 or so times. I think 7 is a bit high, but remember that they can be reconditioned, they can be rejuvenated a wee bit, they can be scraped, they can be recharred, STR treatment. And what happens is that once they've been used and they're not given the malt everything that the producers might hope, it can go off to mature grain, for example. But 7 times, I don't know of any producers using a barrel or getting 7 uses out of a barrel. That's unlikely. More likely to be 4 or 5, that kind of order. But yeah, and then eventually they become plant pots and furniture and all sorts of accoutrements for your whiskey pleasure. But they're used well. Everyone is saying, ahoy, Aquavita, good to see you, and everyone, always great to have you here. Was listening in the car on the commute home. Ahoy, everyone, good to have you. I hope you're driving safely. Of course you were. The one Glassman, Werner, is in. I got to meet you this year in Glasgow a couple of times, Werner. That was fantastic. Ailsa Bay is interesting, Roy, and HP single cask series. Ailsa Bay was okay. I take it or leave it. But the HP single cask are interesting. And interestingly, I got a phone call from the airport just recently. The wife of one of my friends was in the airport and she said, I'm in travel retail. What can I get? I'm looking at these. She listed a few. And I said, do they have any of the HP single cask left? She said, yes, there's an HP single cask here. I think it was expensive at £120. But the reason I pointed her towards that is I know my friend to be a very big Highland Park fan, and he understands the value and appreciates what a single cask is. It just made sense to point her in that direction because I knew where he was in his journey and what he liked, what would tickle him. So for his birthday, which was yesterday, he's been gifted that Highland Park single cask on my recommendation. So fingers crossed it's a good one, else I'll be getting it and I'll be paying her the £120 for it, which is the promise I made. If he didn't like it, I would take it off her. But yes, a good recommendation, Warner. Wonderful. Okay, I think I've covered all the topics. I'm in good shape tonight. That's just an hour in. Might be good to kick off the quiz. Now, I've promised everybody that the quiz at the end, has got a twist. If you normally bail out before the twist, wait. Before the quiz, wait and hear the twist. The quiz is always multiple choice, of course it is. So you're only playing against yourself. You don't need to share what your score is. Just play against yourself and be as honest as straight as you can and see how you got on, because the questions tonight are repeat questions. They have already been in previous vPubs. I've gone back over the last year, back since I came back. It's for early September last year, and I've picked questions throughout the year to put together a compilation of tonight's quiz. I thought that was a quicker, easy way for me to do it, and a way to kind of just have a bit of fun before we break for summer. But it ended up taking me longer to put the quiz together today. But that's it, it's done. So if you want to stay and hang out for the quiz, it's a compilation of questions over the last year for a bit of fun. Included in there is a couple of questions that was in my whiskey exam that I took at the start of the year. And the ones that I've included are ones that I got wrong. And I'll admit to you what those are. Karen is saying, Aquavite, Karen joined us for the trip down to Annandale on Saturday. It was fantastic to have you along, Karen. And it's good to have you in here tonight. She's saying, just putting this out there. We did have the Glen Scotia rum cask on Saturday when I met you guys. Blind taste it. And you got it in 2 or 3 guesses. Karen, you're absolutely right. I completely forgot. Good for me. I don't think I guessed that it was the rum cask version, though. I think we didn't taste the rum until after you admitted that it was rum. I just picked it as a Glen Scotia, I think. But can't find a rare the doc is in saying I tried a Highland Park single cask while travelling back from Glasgow. Was not impressed at all. Oh dear. Just had a wonderful Dramen from Dwayne. Roy, I wanted to wish you a wonderful summer break. I'm sure that you'll enjoy the holiday in Spain with your family. Thanks, and see you when you get back in a few weeks. Slanchova. Dwayne, my friend and supporter, you star. Thank you so much. Another wee dram in from Dave Gillen. Thank you, David. Thank you so much. Staying for the quiz, but great chat as normal. But enjoy your break. David, thank you so much. What is your icon? I can't picture that. Is that a cat? I'll raise this glass, David, regardless of what your icon is. Say thank you for your generous dram, my friend. And Gregor is saying, Aguavide, hope you're packing that sun lotion factor Ouija for that napper. Enjoy the break. Absolutely. If you've ever had sunburn on your scalp, it's a horrible, horrible thing. I use the same sun cream as the kids now. I just cake it on. It's like emulsion paint. Radek is saying, have a great holiday, Roy. Too late here in Czech Republic. Night all. Good night, Radek, and thank you for joining and staying for as long as you did, my friend. Wonderful to have you. Okay. Yes. Let's see how we got on with this quiz tonight. And it will be the last time, I believe, that we do this quiz in its present state. I'll need to figure out a different way to present it to you if Hangouts on Air is indeed killed off by the time I come back, which I believe it most definitely will be. I'm just going to share with you the date of the next public vPub. And I'm fairly confident it's going to be this date, but I will just ask for you to only pencil it in. But we're looking at the 29th of August. I also looked at the 22nd of August, but I think it's going to be the 29th of August, which is, I think, 7 weeks away. 29th of August for the next public vPub. Earlier in August, there will be a patron-only live for me to fit with my monthly patron lock-ins, as we call them. But yes, 7 weeks till the next vPub. There we go. I hope you know I'll miss it more than any of you. So how are we feeling about the quiz? Jason's in, so we can have I haven't noticed Jason from Germany in tonight. Is Jason in? He's usually here, and he's been doing a good job while our Jason Whiskey Wise has been busy elsewhere in recent weeks, just to help divide up the questions. But if you're in good shape for the quiz, we'll get it underway. Hoyt is saying, I'd send a dram, but my phone might have a virus. Don't worry about it, Hoyt. We got to share real drams, and you left me with real drams when we got to meet in Glasgow recently as well. You were another person that I got to hang out with as well, and it was a pleasure to meet you and your other half. Fantastic to hook up with you while you're in Glasgow. Okay. We have the quiz here and ready to go. DJ Beacon is saying quiz. Jason's asking who's ready for the quiz, and it looks like everybody is. And Jason, Whiskey Jason from Germany, is indeed in. Pottage shouting, yep. Good to have you in, Jason, again. Okay. Hopefully you can see that now. We jump into all of these questions that have been previously asked. So we'd be hoping for some 10 out of 10s tonight, perhaps. Let's see how we all got on. I've also included the date that it was previously asked. Question 1, which of these casks holds the least liquid when full? That's the least liquid. So we're looking for the smallest cask of these three. And this was last asked on the 14th of June, 2018, way back last year. Is it A, sherry hogshead, B, a standard hogshead, or C, an ASB, or that's an American standard barrel, or otherwise known as a bourbon barrel? A, sherry hogshead, B, a standard hoggy, or a standard hogshead, or C, an ASB, which is a standard bourbon barrel. Let's see what we say. Matt 69 is saying no pressure. Amy is saying, I am not. You're not what, Amy? And it looks like there is no banana skin in the first one. And it's an easy question anyway, or in those of you who don't think it's easy, perhaps seen it when it was out. But it was a while ago. That was 2018. But yes, indeed, it is a standard bourbon barrel. Now we've got some discrepancy here. I'm saying typically in a sherry hogshead 245 and 238 in a bourbon hogshead, but that doesn't make any sense to me because these hoggies are made from ASBs that have been broken down and remade into hogsheads. Typically, they'll take 5 bourbon barrels to make into 4 hogsheads. So the litres quoted there are probably just an average because these things are not definite. So there you go. If you answered C for ASB or bourbon barrel, give yourself a point as we move into question 2. Which distillery opened the first visitor centre in 1969? Now, this was asked in 2 different ways. It was asked originally in October 2018, but more recently in June this year, asked a slightly different variant of the same question. The first visitor centre in 1969 was opened by A. Glenlivet, B. Glenfiddich, C. Cardew. 1969 visitor centre, A. Glenlivet, B. Glenfiddich, or C. Cardew. Really enjoying this wee Glen Scotia tonight. Wow, fast answers coming in. Not a single variation. Nobody drifting from B. Everybody seems to think it's B. Glenfiddich opened the first visitor centre in 1969. Let's see if you're all right. And yes, everybody right. Am I being kind? Is it just far too easy? Is it because it's the last vPub before summer? Let's see if we can keep it up. There's lots of 2 out of 2s, that's for sure. Question 3. As Espen sends across a virtual dram, saying, I have to go to sleep now, work early tomorrow, have a good holiday, Roy. Espen, thank you so much for your generous dram, my friend. And I'll raise this wee glass just to say thank you and enjoy your rest and don't work too hard. Remember, tomorrow's Friday. Thank you, Espen. Okay. E. MacLeod Distillers own Glengoyne, Rosebank, and which other distillery? A. Tullibardine, B. Tamnavulin, or C. Tamdhu. This was asked back in May of this year. Ian MacLeod owned Glengoyne, Rosebank, and A. Tullibardine, B. Tamnavulin, or C. Tamdhu. Just so happened to mention this earlier in tonight's stream as well. So there we go. Ben Marnick is saying toffee, C. And he's talking about toffee as in it being easy. Very Scottishism. Steve A is saying, I love remembering questions, a big smiley face. Absolutely everybody is saying C. Greg thinks that we are all going to do 10 out of 10. Well, that would be a nice gift from me to leave you with, right? It is indeed Tamdhu. Ian MacLeod own Tamdhu, Glengoyne, and now Rosebank, secured from Diageo. Question 4. Let's go for 4 out of 4, everyone. Which was, at launch, the peatiest Ardbeg to be released? A. Galileo, B. Corryvreckan, or C. Supernova? Now, I asked this back in February. Was it A. Galileo, B. Corryvreckan, or C. Supernova? Now, Ardbeg tends to be the peatiest on Islay as a standard. Of course, there are Octomores out there, and there are various peat experiments going on here, there, and everywhere. But Ardbeg is kind of, as a baseline, the peatiest, to my mind at least. But there was one expression that came out, and it's been released again since, and it's all about the peat for this expression. Which is it? Everybody seems to be very confident. Danny is saying D. Bartbeg. It is, of course, C. Supernova. I believe Ardbeg is typically about a 50 ppm mark, 55 Supernova. I believe in both editions managed to breach 100 ppm. So yes, Supernova being the peatiest Ardbeg. So we move into question 5, which is the image, the picture question. And yes, it's one that you've had before. You had this image back in September 2018. And I'm just going to ask you, of course, what distillery are we looking at? Is that A, Oban, B, Pulteney, or C, Glenkinchie? Which distillery is that? I'll just clear that so you can see it better. A, Oban, B, Pulteney, or C, Glenkinchie? Quite dark buildings, and I don't know if that's the stoneware or if that's Aspergillus nigrum is the fungus that grows on the walls that feeds on the alcohol. I wonder what it is at this particular distillery. Virtually everybody without exception. Greg is saying forgot, damned, but got a clue. Yes, of course. We are looking at B, Pulteney Distillery. If you answered B for Pulteney, give yourself a point. And I think most of you are going to be on 5 out of 5. I'm not going to dwell and ask. I think there's going to be so many of you on full marks. Let's see if there's any banana skins there in the top 5. Let's see. Question 6. Dufftown is said to be built on 7 stills. But where is 7 Stills Distillery? And this was asked in June 2018, way back last year again. Is it A, Australia, B, South Africa, C, USA? Where is 7 Stills Distillery? Is it A, Australia, B, South Africa, or C, USA? Is this a banana skin? When I asked this question, I didn't know, but I did remember. Bill, you star. Geez, already in the quiz? I guess that means I'll have to replay to get through the summer. Cheers, Roy. Enjoy your time off. Remember, it's time off. Thank you, Bill. Very wise words as well. And I'm sure words that will be repeated by my wife too, and probably my kids. But I'll raise a glass and say, Bill, you're my friend for a long, long time now, and it's wonderful to have you as my friend in this environment as well. And thank you so much for the generous dram. See you soon, buddy. Danny is saying it's right next to 6 Stills. Everybody seems to think it's C. Eric Witt is saying Aquaviti 7 Stills just opened a new distillery in San Francisco. Is that the distillery I'm talking about, Eric? And of course, yes, it is in San Francisco. If you answered C for the USA, you're absolutely right. Give yourself a point as we move on to question 7. And this is the first of 2 questions that I got wrong sitting an exam earlier this year after a kind of Whiskey Academy course. I passed the course, I passed it easily, but there was a few really frustrating questions that I got wrong that I should have got right. This is one of them. I'll share it with you now. The Robbie Dew Spring is the water supply of A, Glenmorangie, B, Macallan, and C, Glenfiddich, the Robbie Dew Spring. Now, this has been asked before. I asked this, the quiz questions that I got wrong during that exam was presented to my patrons in a patron-only live on the 7th of March 2019. And they got this, which just rubbed salt into the wounds. There's the Robbie Dew Spring, A, Glenmorangie, B, Macallan, or C, Glenfiddich. What do you think? Oh, this is splitting people as well. Oh, this could be the first banana skin. We've got A's, B's, and C's for this one. The Robbie Dew Spring. Wow. Okay. It's not coming in as fast either. Maybe some fingers Googling out there. Let's have a look. The Robbie Dew Spring is a water supply of C, Glenfiddich. Now, I happen to remember that exam, and I talked myself out of Glenfiddich and talked myself into it being Glenmorangie, but it's not. The Robbie Dew Spring is a water supply for Glenfiddich. I was fizzing about this question and a few others, including the next one. I think that's there's been a lot of fallout from that. Some people would have been on a 5 out of 5 right up until that point, and they're now looking at 5 out of 6. So that's potentially the first banana skin. But banana skin. Eric Waite is saying I drank out of the Robbie Dew Spring at Glenfiddich. Hopefully you got that one right then, Eric, as we move into question 8 and ask, which of the following are not obligatory for the spirit to be called Scotch whisky? Now, this is a tricky one. Actually, I'm not sure I think I got this one right. I think I just picked one of the questions that I actually got right. I did get this right. But it is tricky, and I want you to think about it. Which of the following statements are not obligatory for the spirit to be called Scotch whisky? It was A, bottled in Scotland, B, matured in Scotland, or C, bottled at not less than 40%. So one of these statements is not required for it to have Scotch whisky on the label. A, bottled in Scotland, B, matured in Scotland, or C, bottled at not less than 40%. I'm going to leave that up there so you can peruse that. And again, I asked this to my patrons back in March 2019, which would have been just after I sat this exam. So many of you are already answering A. They believe that it's not required to be bottled in Scotland. Almost all of you are saying A. Tim Willie is saying A. Chris Banks Wildlife. Good to have you in, Tim. Jimmy Jazz, Tabitha, Tony Evans, Service Alafis. Good to have you in, my friend. Mark R. Paul Gibbs. Everybody's saying A. Whiskey in the Six. Rob is in. Fantastic, Rob. Good to have you, my friend. And I can tell you now that it is not required to be bottled in Scotland to be called Scotch whisky. Now, you're screaming probably, you're saying no, but the recent amendments, I think was it 2009, said that it's got to be made, it's got to be produced, it's got to be matured and bottled in Scotland to be called single malt Scotch whisky. Blends, bulk export of blends, can be exported bulk and bottled outside of Scotland. So just for it have the labelling of Scotch whisky, it can be bottled outside of Scotland. Malt whisky must be bottled inside Scotland. So a tricky one, but I can see that most of you got that absolutely right. As we move into question 9 and ask something that was last asked back in June. Glengyle Distillery produces Kilkerran, but who owns Glengyle, the brand? So, of course, Glengyle Distillery are not allowed to sell Glengyle whiskey. Somebody else owns that brand, so the single malt from Glengyle is called Kilkerran. But who is the owner of the Glengyle brand? Is it A, Diageo, B, Loch Lomond, or C, Burn Stewart? A, Diageo, B, Loch Lomond Group, or C, Burn Stewart? Suddenly very, very conscious of my posture. Got a bit of lower back pain, and I think the way I sit is terrible. The way I slouch, the way I drive the car, even probably the way I walk around, my posture is pretty terrible. Maybe need to work on that a wee bit. Almost all of you are answering B. You seem to think it's the Loch Lomond Group. I remember when I asked this back in June, this was a bit of a banana skin back then, if my memory serves me right. Well, let's see if you guys are right. You seem to think it's Loch Lomond Group, and indeed it is B. Question 9 is B. Loch Lomond Group own the brand Glengyle, which must be a wee bit awkward, right? Because there's been some legal to and fro with the parent companies there. And Glen Scotia and Springbank are obviously in the same town. And the owners of Glen Scotia, obviously not Glen Scotia, obviously not Loch Lomond even, but the owners of the brand didn't want to have Glengyle being sold as Glengyle, I guess. DJ Beacon has given some great advice. He's saying, drink more for better posture. I think you're probably right, DJ. Scott Smart is saying, treat yourself to a new chair after the summer break in that case. Yeah, let's see if the funds will stretch. And even if I was in a new chair, do you think that would, I suppose I could get one of those standing chairs or those ones without the backs that force you to have better posture. But I would just end up standing or sitting differently and probably end up with aches and pains through that. Captain 3D is saying, Aquavite, forward sloping chair for computer work will fix you. Wow. Well, you'd know because you're like me, aren't you, Phil? You're constantly in front of a computer screen. Maybe need to think about it. Okay. There are lots of 9 out of 9s. Neil Cochrane's on 7 out of 8. I don't know how that's... You're just a wee bit behind, Neil. Jules GUK, good to have you in, Jules. Is Triketra in tonight? Jay also 9. Alistair Gray on 9. Graham Young 9. Wow. Whiskey Jason 9. Mark R 9. Great scores tonight. Great scores tonight. I was hoping for this. I was hoping that a lot of us would be scoring very, very well. I would be hoping that there's really unlikely to have anyone not make a pass mark tonight. It would be fantastic for it to be the last stream before summer. And good scores right across the board, right? Luna is saying, take the break and look for lovely exercises for your back to be done on the beach. Yeah, 3 kids might have something to say about that. Good idea though, Luna. Question 10, let's see who can keep a full 10 out of 10 right to the end. Let's see. Question 10. This question was asked in January, 31st of January this year. Distillerio Molino del Arco. Distillerio Molino del Arco produces 10 million litres per annum and is located in 10 million litres per annum. This is a huge concern. It's located where? A, Spain, B, Mexico, or C, Portugal. Distillerio Molino del Arco. A, Spain, B, Mexico, or C, Portugal. Now, 10 million litres is huge. Glenfiddich was a 12 million litre distillery up until recently. They're much, much bigger than that now. Macallan have just surpassed 12 million litres. They're at a theoretical 15. So 10 million litre distillery is no small concern. It's quite a big, big distillery. Distilleria Molino del Arco. Now, I think, if my memory serves me right, that this one was a bit of a banana skin. Oh, wow. And it is again tonight. Okay. It's Spain. A, Spain. Give yourself a point if you answered Spain. Now I'm panicking now. Is there a Distilleria del Arco? And I have to apologize for question 10 in the last live stream, because I gave, in a Worm Tub question, I gave 2 Worm Tub distilleries, Old Pulteney and Oban, and I forgot that Old Pulteney also had Worm Tubs. So anybody that answered Old Pulteney can give themselves a point from 2 weeks ago, and I apologize. It's very rare for me to make a mistake, but I do manage to do it. Distilleria. So we're at Spain. I'm panicking because they, just in case they have a facility in Mexico or something like that, for so many of you to answer B, but I can guarantee you that Distilleria Molina del Arco is in Spain, and they are the guys behind the DYC or the DEEK brand, which I've been recommended to try. They've got some age statement product when I'm out there. Skogsmard is celebrating 10 out of 10. Mark Slinger is celebrating 10 out of 10. Jay Chung is saying, well, 9 out of 10 is my best. He's still happy. Jules GUK, 10 out of 10 again. Jules, you score very, very well on this. Fantastic score. Mead Mule, 10 out of 10. Lucky guess on the last one. Well done, Jonathan. Good to have you in. Lots of high scores. Alistair, 10 out of 10. Tabitha on a pass mark of 6 out of 10. Andrew on 8 out of 10. Prestige Liquids. Jimmy Jazz, 8 out of 10. Timberlake, 8 out of 10. DJ Beacon, oops, 7 out of 10. Sid Martin, 9 out of 9. He must have missed a question. Mo's on 9 out of 10. Dram Man KY, it looks like a Kentucky Dram Man, a first time in, perhaps. Very welcome. Good to have you. Dwayne Large, 8 out of 10. Good for you, Dwayne. Graham, 9. He's got a wink and a tear, I think. I'm not sure. Fantastic scores. Paul Gibbs, 7 out of 10. He's saying bugger. Still a great score, Paul. And Alistair Gray is saying, but what's the twist? The twist is, Alistair, that I've asked you the questions before. It's not new questions. I'm just using questions from the last year and a kind of celebration of the vPub quiz at the end over the last year. Mark Harris saying he blew it at the end, 9 out of 10. Eric Waite, full house, 10 out of 10. Fantastic scores, guys. Well done, everybody. And Neil Cochrane is saying he got 10 out of 10 last time. A well-deserved holiday, Roy. Neil, thank you so much. I'm going to sip the last of the Stranahans. And I'm going to pour a wee bit, just so there's something in my glass to raise a toast to you before I sign off. How are we doing for time? Wow, we're doing good. We're doing good. I've still to pack. I've still to pack electronics. I've still to pack various bits and pieces, and we're leaving super early in the morning, but it's just the way it is. Bourbon Professor is saying, enjoy your vacation, Roy. The barflies will miss you. I think I hear taps. Thank you so much, my friend. Thank you for that generous dram. I'm going to pour a wee bit more in here. I wasn't so generous with that pour. I smell the peat. Smells quite nice. Thank you, my friend. Thank you for the wonderful dram and the lovely sentiment. Per has just sent another. You already bought me a dram tonight, Per, but thank you very much for your generosity once more. And I'll say thank you to Bourbon Professor, Slancha. Oh, damn, that's quite nice tonight. And I'll say Slancha also to my friend Per. Thank you. Arbaggy saying, have a good break. See you all in a few weeks. Night all. Simon Ray saying, thanks for another great vPub. Thank you, Simon. Enjoy a well-earned break and have a good summer, everybody. Thank you so much. Just want to summarize by saying, last summer break, there was a huge step up. The support I got after I came back from summer was wonderful. My first live stream that I ever went live with, it was 37 people turned up unannounced. It was fantastic support, wonderful. And it built up until I took a break for summer. When I came back after summer, it kind of took a step up again. And, the quality of the streams was a bit better. I improved the audio, improved the video, improved the lights, and kind of made things a wee bit better. Rebranded as the vPub and all of that kind of thing, and kind of just worked with you on that whole community thing, and it was wonderful. And I was regularly breaking 100, then breaking 115. Sometimes through the winter time, I was breaking 200 easily. When the Ralphie stream came along, we nearly broke 400. When I did the Glendronach 15, we broke 250. So this sense of community that's building around whiskey, certainly inside YouTube, not just here in the vPub, not just on the Aqua Vitae channel, but the other channels and beyond on websites and blogs and social media feeds. And it's spilling out into the real world. It's spilling out into tastings and events or local whiskey clubs. There's whiskey clubs being generated out of this community. It's fantastic, and it's growing and growing all the time. And despite its size and despite its growth, there's more and more channels coming to support that as well, and they're growing too. We're growing, but there are still no idiots, it seems. It's still full of fantastic whiskey folk, and it's just wonderful to be a part of it all. The Whiskey Franco's just bought me a dram and said, enjoy the vacation, Roy. Thank you so much, my friend. Thank you for your dram. I'll raise a glass and say Slanjo. And I guess if I quote my friend, the Whiskey Rev, when we talk about this community that continues to grow and the fact that it can stay just such a really well-intentioned, good, supportive, fantastic community, it's like he says, whiskey is there anything it can't do. We meet regularly here, virtually. Here, there's nothing virtual about it. It's a very real thing. You're hooking up with fellow people in the community. You're getting to get your fix of whiskey knowledge, whiskey chat, whiskey inside information, all of it. It's good fun. There are friendships being struck up in this chat right now. It's wonderful. And I look forward to bringing more of it next year. Jimmy Jazz has bought me a dram, and he's saying, I hope I've not missed anyone there. Jimmy Jazz is saying, have a wonderful summer, and we will see you in August. And don't forget to get a 1 litre bottle of sunscreen when you get to Spain. Absolutely, Jimmy. Enjoy the precious time with your family. Cheers. Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you so much. Thank you all for your wonderful support here in the vPub. Thank you for your patron support. Thank you just to the whiskey folk in general. I'm looking forward to hanging out with you after the summer break when you all come back recharged and energized for some more time in the vPub. And in the meantime, I'll raise a glass and say, you did not drink alone. Slant your whiskey folk. I love you all. Until August.